Hola amigos, and welcome back to another episode of La Vida Verde podcast. I am your host Matthew Human here at Finca Vida Verde. As always, today my guest is a very special one, and I've been really looking forward to this one. We've mentioned him on this podcast a lot. Stephen Brooks is an ethnobotanist, a permaculture teacher, ecological land developer who's passionate about merging where we live with our food and what we eat. He is a founder of La Ecovia, of Alegria Village, of my own community here of Tacatal Colectivo, and he is the reason that I settled here in the Machuca Valley in Costa Rica. It's going to be a great conversation. We're going to have some music, and I hope you enjoy. Stephen Brooks.
Ay.
Welcome to the podcast, brother.
Good to be here. Wow.
So many times we have talked about you on this podcast. I gave you the intro kind of says a lot, but this is a big moment. As Stephen always says, this is a big meeting.
Big
you guys are
meeting.
My brother, Stephen Brooks. So we don't have a lot of time to go into everything that because there's so much here. But I did think we would start. Okay, so first of all, if you want to learn Stephen's history, normally we do like a little interview about who you are, where you come from. You've done a lot of these interviews over time, and you can check out what would be the best one people could check out to get to know you. TEDx, the Burning Man one?
No, I mean, that's so old. I mean, I think there's more. I think maybe like there's one with this guy Chervin, Wake the Fake Up.
Wake the Fake Up. Okay,
that's a good one. I did one with Darren Olian not long ago. That's good. There's one in Spanish that recently came out in my Instagram that's called Elemental Podcast.
And is there like your history, your past?
Yeah, and
in the future.
And the future.
Well, I'm just saying, if you want to know more about Stephen's past and, growing up in North Miami Beach, Florida, and, the whole awakening that he had around communities and all this, you can find that in other podcasts and other interviews.
Today we're going to talk about other things.
No, I want to start with where I met you, because I met you at this point in life where you have had such an impact on my life. You know this. I know you know this. But, I would not be here in Costa Rica if it was not for you. I followed you here, Stephen Brooks, and people always ask me, how did you get here? And
I feel like you didn't just follow me here. I was like, I'll buy your flight. You're coming with me in 2 weeks.
So, yeah, let's get there. So
you need to come see what we're doing, human.
So, when I met Stephen, you had started Copali Organics, which was a food company. Mm-hmm. That was what was the basis of the food company? What was different?
Yeah, just trying to really support small farmers and cooperatives and organic and beyond fair trade. Really just trying to create storytelling about connecting with where your things come from. Really creating those bridges so things aren't a mystery.
Right, and it seems so obvious. Saying it now, but in truth, many people don't think about that. No. And it's you going, where does your food come? Where will you, who grows your food? Did you ever think about that? I've seen you ask a lot of people that question. And I think for a lot of people, that was their first time thinking of it.
Yeah.
So, I don't know if it was the first time I heard it, but whatever it is, it's impacted my reality. So,
and I feel like it's a big part of your narrative. Part of your narrative is trying to get people to question all of the decisions they make and realizing the impact they have beyond, that it's we think about our sphere of influence, how are we affecting things as we walk through life, and are we making them better or are we making them worse? Are we improving people's lives or are we destroying people's lives? It's we buy our beautiful little iPhones and that's real. Your iPhone is probably really hurting people's lives and we don't even know. That's the sad things. We don't really even know what they're doing.
What we call this transitional ethics.
Yeah. It's how can, sometimes we do things we buy an iPhone and hopefully we're going to do so many great things with it, besides just, stalk our other people on Instagram. It's we're going to do things with our iPhones that are going to up level reality, you know? So I think that's what it really comes down is how can we improve the earth? How can we improve people's lives, you know, through all the things that we do?
Well, this is definitely one of our common missions, and why we have been so connected for over the years. And you know, and we're all coming from our own perspectives of life. You know, your life and my life come from different places. We come from different perspectives. We don't always agree on things, but we definitely meet in that space. And that's just, I think that's the thing a lot of the people in our valley have in common is we're all kind of being called to like do something greater, do something bigger. And so let's keep moving. Hold on, I want to go back to, so I met you at Earth Dance. We were performing there, and
I remember I was driving with Alana, who's one of our neighbors here in Tacotal. I was driving to Earth Dance with her, and she was practicing for her set. She was going to sing with you for her set.
Right.
And I was like, the first I heard of you was the entire ride from San Francisco to the hog farm in Mendocino of her practicing for your set.
And then, and I remember, we, after the show, and that was Earth Dance, like, I don't know, 2004, 2005 or something like that. And then after the set, Alana, did the whole thing. What we started,
big meeting.
This is a big meeting.
She did.
And it was. I mean, I didn't know how big it was going to be. I mean, it literally.
I didn't know I was about to meet my favorite singer and songwriter.
My teacher, my permaculture teacher. Yeah, it really changed my life. And so basically then, from then on, Steve and I just kind of, I remember I think it was the next year, we cruised around Earth Dance together playing.
That's when Singers and Players was
music,
written. Yeah.
Singers and Players. And we just literally, like, the whole time just went around cruising as a crew. And so you had started the Kopali Organics, which I was, impressed by. You were this kind of young guy, young hippie kid who was making stuff happen. And Kopali was you and Zach and Norman, your dad. And from there, let's see, then there was...
Well, maybe rewind. I mean, I would rewind a little bit. I mean, there's Punta and...
Well, no. We'll get there.
Oh, okay.
There. But yeah, you'd started Punta Mona. I knew about Punta Mona, but I had never
Oh, really? Before you met me, you knew about it?
I'd heard about it. Yeah, because in our like, circles, it was, like, already... we were our little hippie circle, Northern California Festival circle, a lot of Costa Rica and Hawaii influence, and people, all the Costa Rica people had been there. So I'm sure
all the fruities.
And also, like, you had done the Conscious Caravan. You did 2 veggie oil bus tours.
Right.
Which through Mexico and drove buses. Right?
Yeah.
Just give us a 2-second, like, what was that?
Yeah, I mean, it was just, again, questioning everything. I just remember I was sitting in Punta Mona, and there was this volunteer named Spider at Punta Mona, and he was looking at me, and he was like, yeah, Steven, this is really good, amazing what you've done here at Punta Mona, all the food you're growing, and the vibes, and the education, and the permaculture. He's like, but, how many times you fly down to Costa Rica a year? I was like, I don't know, 3 or 4 times I go back to the States, visit my family. He's like, well, did you know that, I forget the statistic, every time you fly on a plane, each seat on the plane uses the fuel as if you were to drive for 600 hours without stopping, something like that. And I was like, holy shit, I didn't know that. And it was like right then, I was like, wait a minute, well, what can we do about it? And I just remember it was like a few weeks after we had gotten internet in Punta Mona, and he was like this tech wizard. We had this idea, well, let's call it the Sustainable Solutions Caravan. I've heard about cars running on vegetable oil. Let's find the best people to do it. Like literally in a couple of weeks, we found the mechanics, the Veggie Boys, Ryan and Mike. We had a full website with animation because he knew how to do that, like up. We put it out in all these Yahoo groups, these like alternative fuel Yahoo groups that were looking for mechanics. So within a few days, we had the mechanics. We had them looking for buses. We put it out there that we were doing it. And 7 months later, 25 people drove down on 2 buses and a truck, leaving from San Francisco to Costa Rica, and we didn't use 1 drop of diesel. And then we did it again the next year.
Not 1 drop.
Not 1 drop. And the crazy thing is that we had the opportunity. Honestly, to this day, not only was it one of the most adventurous and fun things I've ever done, but it was also one of the most impactful things I've ever done. There's a show called Primer Impacto, which is the 2020 of the Spanish-speaking world, that they would literally stick a microphone in my face and like, what do you want to tell to 800 million people right now? And it was just like, wow, this is freaking power. What do I want?
And so you were on that show?
Yeah, several times. What do you want to tell 800 million people? It's like, yeah, learn where your food is coming from. Learn where your fuel is coming from. Learn how it's affecting people along the way. Meanwhile, we're driving through Mexico, seeing these massive farms. People that their lives seem so miserable working there. So we can have cheap food in the U.S. It's just like, wait a minute, this is a real wake-up call. And like, how can we, how can we ring a siren without making people feel, I think this is a really interesting balance. It's like, how can we, scream about problems and urgency without making people feel judged and overwhelmed and depressed? It's like, it's a real question. Like, how can we do that? How can we, try to help people to like realize just what a mess it is out there, with, really trying to push them in a gentle way, to start seeking solutions. And often it's like, we never want to be the ones like preaching the solutions. People don't want to be preached to, but what we do is we just start helping people to ask the questions. And that's why, like, when you say, where does your food come from? It's not like, hey, you got to eat organic food. Nobody wants to be told what to do.
Right.
People want to start having the questions so they could start exploring that and finding the solutions for themselves.
Right. And also, to answer your question, we also have a lot of art and music and dance and allow for the catharsis to happen.
Totally.
And I think that's part of the revolution is like, we need to change. We do need to we need to shift our ways, but we also need to do it in a fun way and that's digestible, and also, but not like, not avoidant, because
we need a real revolution.
Well, I think sometimes people get sucked into they get sucked into the party, and that's not really helpful either, because
the party or the social media or the stupid TV shows that Netflix, they just get so sucked into that we become numb.
Is this a stupid TV show?
No, there's a podcast. It's like people become numb, and it's a lot easier to become numb. It's like often like the first day of the permaculture course, what I'll tell, and you probably remember, is what I'll tell people is like, you guys get ready to embark on a journey that once you've seen Waldo in the Where's Waldo book, you can't not see it. So like, totally. You're about to take this course, you're about to be shaken, you're about to become ecologically literate. Like, I love that term. I've been saying that a lot lately. Once we become ecologically literate, it's hard not to see the reality around us and want to dedicate to finding solutions.
And it's really interesting how easy it is to make some of these changes, but people are so resistant to some of them. And it's like, it's really not that hard. It's like, just takes a little bit of easing into sometimes. And I've learned so much just following you around for years. Like, I never thought I'd be able to like walk around a farm like this and like point out all the plants and like know the history, but it's just it's like you start little by little. That was you. That was who you were when I met you.
I think one of the things I love that you're such a preacher about it, because I've been such a preacher about it for years, is just like, make your own milks. Like, stop buying Tetra Pak milk. Ugh. Like, here in this zone, you could buy a coconut for less than $1, or about $1.
Yeah.
And one coconut makes like 2 liters of coconut milk, and it's like, and you get a little extra, you get the permaculture on, so it's like, what a it's such an easy solution to stop, and I think one thing that people could do, like, people often ask, like, what do you recommend that I could do? Well, one thing I would do is I would cancel your Amazon Prime. Try for a week, almost like NA, like narcotics, like Amazon Anonymous, like AA, like, try not to order anything this week. Like, I go to people's houses in the States now, and like literally there's like packages piled up outside their houses every day. It's like, whoa, what are you ordering?
Yeah.
So that's one thing I would do. And then the other thing I would do is start looking in your garbage, at the end of the week, and pick through it and see, like, what can I do differently to avoid making this garbage?
For sure. We do here at the farm, we do bottle bricking, which, we don't have a trash can really. We sometimes, like, when we have some major construction, we'll have a little trash bag or something. But in general, anything that we use, like food that comes in plastic, it gets washed, dried, and then stuffed into a bottle. I literally deal with each piece, and that really helps. It's like and then you're turning into the bottle brick is like a plastic bottle. You stuff your thing in, and then you have a usable building material down the line. You just keep them. But that's a really good point, and I'm glad you brought that up, because I think using less is 100%. Yeah,
less is more.
Less is more. Okay. So, then you had the TV show. You had a TV show on Discovery Channel. It was
Travel Channel.
Travel
which was
Channel.
Owned by Discovery. Edible Adventure. And
we played in New York City. We were traveling around on Steven's veg oil bus.
Did you fly to
New York? I flew to New York City.
To New York. You didn't come on the bus.
No. But then when I was in New York, you guys picked me up. I think you picked me up on the bus. This veg oil bus picks me up at the airport. It was the coolest thing, one of the coolest experiences. This beautiful veg oil bus with hemp. You had hemp seat cushions, and papercrete
countertop,
countertops,
alcohol stove,
right?
real rubber cushions, like, natural rubber cushions.
Right. Coconut floor,
bamboo, like everywhere.
It was a moving
solar panels,
a moving experiment in sustainability, and it ran on Visual. So you guys picked me up in that, and we went to Chinatown and picked up tons of fruit and.
Your hands. I'm just keep thinking you're gonna hit the mic. Be careful.
I'm not gonna hit the mic. I'm not gonna hit you. I'm sorry. I am. I've been hanging out. I've been talking to a lot of Italians lately. You know what I mean? Anyway, So anyways, we ended up doing that, and then so you had the TV show that was the premiere, and then based on that we went to Expo West. That's where this is where for my life changed, and there's a whole story for me getting there. But going to Expo West, we were sitting on a bus, hanging out playing music with Daryl Hannah.
There's a video online.
Beautiful Daryl Hannah, and Steven looks over at me. He's like, "Human, why haven't you ever been to Costa Rica?" And at the time, I think I was just so hand to mouth, and I just didn't have the money. And he's like,
"Well, you were going to Hawaii. You just didn't have the in to go to Costa Rica."
I didn't have the in. Yeah. No, I mean, you need the invite.
Yeah.
But I couldn't, so I couldn't just go there. You can't just go and buy a hotel, rent a hotel. I just needed to have an invite. Yeah. Yes. And so, yes, you brought me down. Mm-hmm. Steven paid for my ticket.
And Mason.
Me and Mason.
Uh-huh.
And
we went right to Steve Aronson's house.
I remember that. It was the Cafe Brit. Uh-huh. Yeah, the guy that owned Cafe Brit. First night, we went to the owner of Cafe Brit's house, woke up at his place. Next day, we're on a bus, like, with a bunch of school children cruising through.
That's right.
And I don't know if you know this, but I had actually found, I don't know why I did this. This is so weird, but I had found a little bit of a ganja cookie that I had brought. No, it's okay. It's okay. And I had it, and I never eat ganja food, and I don't know why. I was so like, maybe I
don't remember that.
Maybe I thought it would help me, but I ate this ganja cookie on this bus ride
with all the kids,
and I didn't understand any. First of all, I couldn't understand because you're speaking Spanish. All these kids spoke Spanish, and I didn't speak any Spanish at the time. And we're cruising through this like crazy. This bus driver is moving crazy with all these kids, and man, it was a wild experience. And then we get to Gandoca. We get on horses. They put the bags on horses, and we walked down the beach, down to Punta Mona. And man, that was just quite an experience.
Yeah.
And Punta Mona, for those of you who don't know, is an ecological education center. What do you call it? You call it?
I call it the Punta Mona Center for Regenerative Design and Botanical Studies. Right. And yeah, I mean, I would say if I was to put a little title under my name, I don't know if you do that on these videos, sure. But I would say like Stephen Brooks, like my biggest title, I would say ethnobotanist, and ethnobotany is the study of the relationship between humans and plants. And I feel like my biggest role is being like a bridge between humans and plants and really being a translator. I've been, it's like when you work on learning a language, I've been literally studying the language of plants for 30 years intensely. Mm-hmm. And oh, you know what I was thinking? I was thinking about one thing, some things I wanted to talk about with you today. And one thing I remembered is I recently came up with this quote. I got invited by our mutual friend Elliot to go to breakfast with Richard Branson recently.
Amazing.
I told you that.
Did you go?
Yeah, of course. I went to breakfast with Richard Branson with 8 people. And everyone had 2 minutes to share. And I shared, and something came out of my mouth. And at the end, Elliot looked at me and he was like, "Steven." And he repeated it. I was like, "Oh, where'd you get that?" He's like, "Dude, you just said it." And I said, basically, like, all the answers, all the solutions for the world are being screamed to us by the plants. And I really truly feel that. I mean, even like what just happened last week in Punta Mona, like being there, like the plants are here for us. The plants are the kind of epitome and the quintessential example of unconditional love. And so I feel like more than anything, Punta Mona became a plant collection, an ethnobotanical plant collection, that then just people started flocking. The plants started bringing all the people.
And of all the places I've been, I mean, of all the things you've done, I feel like that's your legacy. Really, is like collecting that plant library that exists there is just, it's one of the best in the world. Mm-hmm. It's got and a lot of our trees that we have here, a lot of our plants came from that. Like,
trucks. Christian and I loading the boat, loading my truck.
Hey, me too. I've loaded plenty of boats.
Yeah. But even before you got here, like the first when we first got Tacotal, like that's, and the same with Ecovia. I mean, like, the first thing we did when we started Ecovia was we literally and Alegria, like it's kind of like Noah style. Like how can we move this genetic collection around, and the idea when we started Ecovia was like, okay, it's great here what we're doing at Punta Mona. It's like, Punta Mona is this great education center, and people's lives are being cracked open, but this, we need to create communities and villages. So the idea was like, okay, well, let's start a village, let's start a community. And so we basically created a criteria, like, what does the criteria of the community look like? And like, the first thing first was Costa Rica. We want to be in Costa Rica.
Right.
Second, we want to be somewhere between 400 and 800 meters above sea level. Mm-hmm. Third, we knew that we wanted to be within 1 hour of San Jose. Mm-hmm. We want to be closer. It's so hard to get to Punta Mona. We want to be closer to the airport, going in and out, people to get there. We want it to be easier. Then we knew that we wanted to be near a crystal clear river. I had just gone to the International Rainbow Gathering in San Vito in 2004.
I remember that year. I didn't go.
And I went, and I just like being on a river, a clear river, and just like laying naked on big hot boulders until I got all hot and crispy, and then rolling into the water and drinking. So that was in the criteria. This is our dream. We can create the criteria how we want. And then we knew that we wanted to find land that was already deforested so that we can come in and regenerate it. We don't have, a lot of times gringos come down here and they see this beautiful waterfall, or they see a gorgeous piece of rainforest. Oh, I want to live there. And they buy and they try to create a community there. I was like, you can't create a community here. It's what do you cut 2 hectares down to do it? Right. No. So those were the criteria, and then we honed in, and that's how we ended up here in the San Mateo Valley. Christian and I basically. Mm-hmm. I remember perfectly. I was at Juan Pablo Bardajona's house in his mom's house in Curiabat, and there was a newspaper, La Nación newspaper was there, and it had like an article about the 10 cleanest rivers in Costa Rica, and a little map, and it had little dots, and one of them was the Machuca River, one was the Jesus Maria River, which is the next valley over, and then there was a bunch, which the Machuca actually goes into, and then there was a bunch around the country, and I just remember looking at Christian, I was like, we're going there tomorrow. We're going to look at that river tomorrow. And I forget, we were dropping some girlfriend off at the airport that morning, Christian and I remember we were driving and we looked at each other and we went, because we are going to the promised land, to the promised land.
Wow.
I hope you are ready. The promised land, it's not in Africa. It's not in America. The promised land is a state of mind. And we drove right here. We drove right here. And we met Juan, who's Arcelian. Juan, yeah. Diego's brother. And Juan is who walked us around the property.
Wait, young Juan?
Yeah, young Juan.
His nephew.
Yeah, who's not, like, when I met him, he was like, I don't know, 12 or 10. Yeah. And he took Christian and I to go look at the land, and like we walked down to the river, and Christian and I like literally teared up and cried and said, yeah, this is where we want to live. This is where we want to raise our children. And I remember like weeks later, we had like the ceremony with Maria Fernanda and with Vanessa Cavallini, and we sat where the current like ball court is in Ecovia, and we said, yeah, well, this is where we'll create the school. And some rendition of that happened, and then it transitioned to Sula. It outgrew the space, but yeah, it's amazing when you create criteria, how you can hone, how you can find what you're seeking. Like if you're looking for a girlfriend or a boyfriend or a husband, it's like, what are you looking for? The clearer you are, the better chance you are to find it. Yeah, and that's kind of how that started. We knew that we wanted to start creating communities. And yeah, and I just want to really shout out to Christian, who, very few people even that live in Ecovia even know. Like
they know him as the ginger beer guy.
They know him as the ginger beer guy, but they don't know that, like, he was there in the, in the early days, like literally like creating the master plan, together, and the wells, and getting the first registered wells, and, getting the master plan registered. And yeah, so I just want to really give him a shout out.
Yeah. Christian Carranza. Mm-hmm. And he's also one of our Taco Tal members, and also founders. Yeah. So basically, and then you guys came up here and...
No, so Ecovia was starting, we raised the money for it, and we were...
And it was called Copali Communities.
Then it was called Copali Communities, because we were like, we have this food company, Copali Organics, and then we'll have another Copali Communities. And then my 2007 Burning Man camp, I remember we were like packing up all the stuff from Burning Man. 2007, if anybody was there, it was a really hard year. It was really dusty. It was really windy. Our whole camp almost got blown down. I just remember sitting there with Brad and being like, man, the property up the street from the community that we're starting in Costa Rica is for sale. Like, we could buy it. And so I spent like the next, few months like reaching out to friends of mine, and I had this whole vision where like, okay, I'll get, 50 grand from, 8 to 6 different people so that we can raise the money to buy the land and get a little cushion to start with. And then so that's where Taco Tall was born, from really our 2007 Burning Man camp.
And I remember some of those meetings. I remember being in Berkeley, and you were meeting with Lewis and meeting with
Exactly.
people at
Yeah.
first. And
Trying to sell people
I
on
didn't
it.
really know what was going
Yeah.
on because I'd never been here.
Yeah.
But I heard the conversations, and I was like, oh, that's interesting.
Meeting with Lewis, meeting with Alana, meeting with KT, trying to get, because what started happening with Ecovia is that Ecovia was like, it was just costing a lot more money the way we were doing it. And what I was realizing is a lot of the people that I really wanted to live with weren't going to be able to afford it.
Right.
And it's interesting. Brad always compared, like we had this Burning Man camp called Blazing Raisin, which was kind of like on the outskirts of this other Burning Man camp called Otter's Oasis. And he was like, yeah, Taco Tall is like the Blazing Raisin to the Otter's Oasis. Like, we're the ones that build the houses for the people at Ecovia, or we'll be the ones that give them massages, or get hired by them. Like, that was kind of like, he was like, this is, it's, no, and it is. It's been a lot more rustic. No, it's not, but it's been a lot more rustic. It's been a lot more slower in creating it. With Ecovia, we raised the money and we had the money to execute the plan. Right. Where here, it's been unfolding over, 15 years.
Yeah, and it's interesting because they are super different in that way. It's like, but they both have their wisdom,
different structures, different
designs.
Invisible structure.
I definitely see like, I think there's some wiser decisions that get made at moving slow, and also like, years of hard, we lived hard for a lot of years.
Yeah, and now look, it's happening. The well just got dug here. And then I guess from that, it's like, yeah, we got to keep doing this. Like in 2018 is where Alegria started, which was, another 170-acre project, 145 lots. We've sold 140 of them now to people from, I don't know, 30-something countries, So it's like this valley is there's, just between Ecovia, Taco Tall, and Alegria, there's over 200 families in this valley.
And Stephen, I can say without a doubt you are the one that brought us all here. You and Christian or whoever else was there like founded this valley exists and is growing because of your vision. So thank you, my
brother. You're welcome. And it's interesting, I've been I had an interesting meeting with a friend yesterday about narrative, like what's the narrative of what unfolded here, and you see like even just how history gets shaded, like what really happened with Christopher Columbus, or like what really happened, and over time how history gets changed and different perceptions, and it's interesting, and I guess that's why big companies hire full-time PR people to maintain, and it's like I haven't really done that. It's just kind of like the narrative has unfolded, and now with Ecovia San Mateo, it's like this area is going to be like the epicenter of, the ecological community movement. Like people are coming from all over to see, how we've done things here, to try to do them. And that's kind of the idea is it's all copylefted. Like how can we do this and continue to
support each other? Yeah. And that's one of those visions of the new, for me, that's like one of those New Earth principles that is like it's hard to get out of like the competition vibe, and how do we work together and just we're all in this, when I zoom out, I'm like, beyond the stories, beyond the history, I know we're all trying to do the best, and and at the same time, like I do believe that that it's important to credit people for the hard work that they do.
No, and it's been talking about credit, like the first person that she mentioned is my dad, Norman. It's like none of this could have happened without my dad. No. The hardest part about these projects is raising the money, is getting started, is to raise the money to try to convince people, we're going to buy a land in rural Costa Rica. And my dad, and it was just so dedicated to, to making that, to supporting me and my visions,
You're such an interesting blessing, Stephen. You and your father, this team that you have of like your father's holding it down and you're holding the vision and like working together.
And simultaneously, then Marcelo came in 2010, and really, really helped push the whole project along. And that narrative, I have faith, is going to start unfolding. And I think, the whole community, all these communities, really need to know the narrative, and I think it's coming. I think that it's like you can just let things unfold organically and just let it be random. And like as my wise friend Asti used to say, is like in the close areas we need to eradicate the randomness. So I think really getting intentional and clear on that narrative, and I think we're taking some steps to start clearing that up. And I feel great. I feel excited about what's happening. I feel, I walked the roads in Alegria yesterday and I see all of the fruit trees and like, I see the history that each of them have, my relationship with each one of them and where I first got them and how they got here and where they sat in the nursery. And all I can say is thank you to the plants and just so much appreciation.
Yeah, and I know I said that your legacy is the plants, and I think ultimately that is a big part of it, but also like the attracting of the humans too, and like this valley is a true testament to a vision that was that happened, and also yes to your father, to Norman. He's the guy that
and my mom behind the scene who lived with my dad and I for so long, and my sister, like our family, like. It's really a lot to do this, and I also just want to give a big shout out to all of the investors that believed in us. That's, again, it's the hardest part, it's like, and it's so like easy to not even appreciate them and like almost be angry at them. Like, oh, the investors,
Right.
and it's like, yeah, thank you, investors. Thank you for believing and making this happen. Because there's thousands of projects that are starting to get it happen. They're trying to happen and they're dreaming, but they just can't raise the money to make it happen.
I think there's a thing coming. I think money is a tricky subject for people.
Money, it will come and go. I will
have
no
fear
of poverty. No, and I will spread the abundance when Jah give it to I say.
This is even singing,
money
quoting
will
what
not make.
quoting
I'm
what
Human's biggest fan. I know more of the words of his songs than anyone.
I would agree with that. And thank you. I'm honored.
I'm the biggest Human fan. If you haven't listened to Human's music, he's doing this
God,
podcast
this
now.
crazy,
Listen to Human's music. It's deep freaking wisdom.
Steven,
really.
Thank you. And there's so much, God, I feel like there's so much more I want to talk to you about.
Well, we'll do another one. This is part one.
Okay, part one.
Because we have to at least sing a song.
I know.
We need a durian.
I know. We have the durian.
A mini durian. Oh my God. So this right here. So like talking about history, this is called La Isla. This is a seedling tree from... La
Isla is the variety of durian.
This is the variety of durian. It was named because it was a seedling planted by Peter from the Botanical Garden in Puerto Viejo and Lindy a long time ago. And this is the smallest durian I've ever seen. It just has one little pocket.
Oh my God.
And maybe it'll be our first kiss, Human. Maybe.
No, just not
just No, but I'm so excited to share this with you. It's so funny. We had this party the other night, and it got lost in my fridge. It was like so little.
This is my favorite fruit. Anybody who knows me, oh my God, is Steven. Thank you so much.
Cheers, Human.
Cheers, my brother. Do you remember your birthday party?
You
remember your birthday party? We had, what was it?
Green Fest.
40th, maybe. It was a big one.
Mm-hmm.
And I remember I went in with Zach Carson, and we went to this Ranch 99 and bought
10 durians.
10 durians, and we had a durian festival downstairs at this party.
Yeah, so I just want to thank the tropical sun and the tropical waters of Vietnam. No, not of Vietnam. I just ate a durian from Vietnam. The tropical sun and the tropical waters of Puerto Viejo, of Black Beach, of La Isla Farm. All the work that Peter and Chiave and Lindy and Ansel over the years have put into this land. I just want to give so much gratitude for the succession and the evolution of this tree to make fruits that are so dynamic that only orangutans can rip them open and eat them. Their smell,
and tigers,
their flavor, their incredible complexity, the sophistication of taste like no other. To the Durios Aventis, thank you so much.
Durios Aventis.
Salud, Salud. Living la vida verde.
Oh my God.
Oh, it could be the best durian.
It's so good.
Oh.
Wait,
do you have your taste vision on?
I know. I wish we could. Durian. I know there's like a lot of controversy around this fruit. People are like, it stinks.
If you don't like it, I don't trust you.
Yeah, it's really the best actually.
Oh.
King of fruits. Complete protein.
Save a bite for
Yvonne. Right. Dang.
Thanks for joining us.
All right, we're going to play some music. We have to do a part 2, part 3, part 4, Steven. Just to close it up before we play some music, Steven is also my permaculture teacher. He's an advisor here at Finca Vida Verde. Every time he comes up here, he's like looking at my trees, giving me advice. Hey, there's a space there. You should cut the top off that one. I'm grateful for all the years of support you've offered me, brothers. Thank you.
You're welcome, brother.
All right, and what are we gonna play?
Singers and players. Singers and players, take one. Singers and players of instruments will be there. Singers and players of instruments will be there. Singers and players, they will be there when Babylon falls. Singers and players of instruments will be there. What did they teach you in your college? What did you learn in your university? What you gonna do with all that useless knowledge? You can't eat your PhD. No, you can't eat your PhD. No. Singers and players of instruments will be there. Singers and players of instruments will be there when Babylon falls. Singers and players of instruments will be there. Singers and players of instruments will be there. Judges on the line right now. Judges on the line right now. Judges on the line right now. Operator. Judges on the line right. Ring, 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 ring. I think I hear Jaja calling. Babylon walls are falling. I pray to her name. I pray to her name. Where will your food come from tomorrow? Where will the water that you drink? Where will it go when it goes down your sink? I hope that you know. Singers and players of instruments will be there. Singers and players of instruments will be there.
Okay, muchas gracias, everyone. Thank you, Stephen Brooks. Singers and players will be there
when Babylon falls.
And that was a little shout out to Hair-Eye, my brother Hair-Eye,
yeah.
too. Jaja up on the line. I'm Matthew Human. This is Stephen Brooks. Thank you again for watching. This is La Vida Verde podcast. We release episodes every Tuesday. You can find us, watch us live on YouTube at La Vida Verde podcast. You can also listen on Spotify and Apple Podcasts. If you want to support us, we have a Patreon, patreon.com/La Vida Verde podcast. Instagram at Finca Vida Verde CR. Thank you so much. We'll be back next week with another great episode. Stephen Brooks, take us out.
Enough respect.